All right, let's talk about the birth of rock and roll. But this isn't just a history lesson about music. No, this is a story about a heist, a technological hijacking. It's about how the raw, chaotic energy of a generation basically stole the master's tools to build a whole new world.
We always start with this idea because it's so central to everything. Before the shell and the heart could see each other, they could hear each other. Music was the first shared language. It's the only place where the shell, that's the mathematical rule, and the heart, that chaotic feeling, aren't at war. Instead, they're in a dance. So, that really gets us to the big question for today. How on earth did a few simple inventions, basically just tools to make things louder, end up fueling one of the biggest cultural revolutions of the 20th century? It's a heck of a story. Let's dive in. Now, our story doesn't begin with a rebellion. Kind of the opposite, actually. It starts with practicality. It starts with the shell. The world of science, of industry, of order. And it starts with them forging these powerful new electric tools. Think about it. The electric guitar, the amplifier, the microphone. These things were not invented for a revolution, not at all. They were made to solve really simple problems, like, hey, how do we make this quiet guitar loud enough to hear over the drums in a jazz band? They were tools of clarity and control, designed to make sound cleaner, louder, more orderly. But then came the heist. This is where it gets good. The heart, that raw, messy, chaotic energy of youth culture and the blues, it saw these shiny new tools of order and thought, yeah, I'm going to take those. It decided to steal fire from the gods. And what an absolutely bizarre combination this was. I mean, look at this. On one side, you've got the blues. It's pure, raw emotion. It's all about improvisation, about bending notes till they cry. And on the other side, you've got electricity. Raw power, sure, but it's designed for clean signals, for mass-scale amplification. It's the messy, intuitive heart meeting the cold, logical shell. So, what happens when you do that? What happens when you plug raw human emotion directly into raw electric power? What in the world is the answer to that equation? Well, you get rock and roll. That's it. That's the secret sauce. Fundamentally, that's what it is. It's the sound of the heart's feeling being cranked up to 11 by the shell's technology. It is literally the sound of a collision. And the pioneers of this sound, guys like Chuck Berry, they didn't just play louder. That's the key. They pushed the technology until it literally broke. They took the noise, that accidental, fuzzy distortion you get when you crank an amp too high, and they weaponized it. They turned a technological flaw into a pure, screaming expression of chaotic emotion. Incredible. So you can imagine the establishment, the shell of polite society, heard this electrified chaos coming out of the radio, and it was absolutely terrified. And its first instinct was to fight back, hard. At first, it was a full-on moral panic. People were calling this music dangerous, a threat to the social order. But the rejection completely failed. Why? Because this new thing called the teenager suddenly had money to spend, and they loved this sound. It was just too popular to kill. So the shell had to get smart. It had to change its tactics. And this is where the shell gets really, really clever. The new thinking was, if you can't destroy the chaos, you contain it. The establishment's brilliant countermove was to invent a new container, a much more subtle one, to package this rebellion for the masses. The magic number for this new container was 3. Yep, just 3. 3 minutes to be exact. Why? Well, that was about the length of a song that could fit on one of those little 45 RPM singles, which was perfect for jukeboxes and perfect for commercial radio. And that time limit, it forced a structure, a formula. The whole verse-chorus thing became the standard. It was predictable, it was repeatable, and boy, was it commercially perfect. It took the wild, improvisational energy of rock and roll, and it stuffed it into a neat little box that you could sell over and over again. But here's the final reveal. The reason this worked isn't just because it was good for business. There's a much deeper, almost scientific reason this format was so powerful. It was, believe it or not, a kind of cognitive efficiency engine. So yeah, why? Why did this simple little structure work so well? What is happening inside our brains that makes this packaged rebellion so addictive? Okay, this is where we can translate our whole story directly into brain science. The shell, that predictable song structure, the verse-chorus thing, that's what scientists call a predictive model that your brain creates. The heart, that killer hook or catchy riff that surprises you, is what they call a prediction error. And that feeling of pleasure when you hear it, that's a dopamine reward. It's your brain giving itself a little treat for figuring out the surprise. And this brings us to the key takeaway. The 3-minute pop song isn't just a song. It's a machine, a little engine perfectly optimized to hack our brain's natural process of prediction and reward. Think about it. Because the structure is so simple and repetitive, our brain learns the shell, the pattern, almost instantly. And that frees up all our mental energy to just focus on the heart, the surprises, the hooks, and get that maximum dopamine hit. It is the absolute perfect sweet spot between a pattern we know and a pleasure we crave. And so, as the story goes, the shell fought to contain the heart's new rhythm, but the heart always broke the form. And with every broken rule, a new shell was born to hold the new chaos. The music industry, with its perfect 3-minute formula, became that new shell, built specifically to contain the beautiful, profitable chaos of rock and roll. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. We've just seen the shell, the force of structure, get incredibly good at packaging the heart's chaotic creativity for mass consumption. But if structure can learn to manage and sell chaos, could it one day learn to create it all on its own? The dance, my friends, continues.